Back when I switched over to digital, a number of films were left stranded in the fridge. They range from 18 to 13 years out of date, so I figured I probably should start cleaning out the fridge. It might take some time. Here we have a packet of 35mm Portra NC, NC meaning natural colour. It used to come in 3 versions, natural, vivid and ultra. Now they just make it in 1, and I suppose we're meant to tweak it in post. In 120 size, we've got some black and whites here. Ilford Delta 100, Ilford Pan F Plus 50 ISO. These low ISO films are still available today, but if I was going to do a really important shoot, I'd have to consider whether I buy new films. But these are okay. I'd probably rate them at half the ISO. And here we have an unopened packet of Velvia 50 ISO colour reversal film. And finally, a packet of Portra 400 NC. And there's just one roll left. What say we give that a go? It's quite a while since I've done this. It's pretty straightforward. Just a bit tricky, that's all. Not as easy as 35mm. Hold that tongue in while I wind it on. Whoops. No, we're getting there now. Now I usually wind it a bit past the mark to give the processor a bit more room to cut the film from the backing. There's usually plenty of space at the other end of the tail end. Okay, now we just put it on here. Make sure it's seated in. And wind her on. And we're right to go. While I'm shooting medium format, I want to make a copy of a painting. It's by an Australian artist, the late John Rigby. I've set my ISO down from 400 to 250, which will give 2/3 of a stop overexposure. Being negative film, I think it'll handle that. I've set up with a special procedure for getting a nice strong image without getting reflections off the paint. And we'll need the lights off. Here we go. So then we just put the mirror up and press the trigger. Done. And here it is, straight out of the camera. Not too bad for a film that's 13 years out of date, but it does look better when corrected. There's nothing quite like a good old landscape to test the accuracy of a film. There's the blues, the yellows, the red roof and the black gateway. And focusing is really easy. Just got to crank it back a little bit from infinity to include the gateway and the depth of field, and we're right to go. Mirror up, and fire the trigger. Oops, we could have it turned on. Fire the trigger. There we go. Yeah, it's definitely not right, and it took a bit of effort to fix it. But there it is, reasonably restored. I'm a bit disappointed in the quality of film processing. It shouldn't have dust and lint embedded in the emulsion like that. Fixing it gets a bit tedious. Mirror lock-up. Locking up the mirror is overkill really, but if you've got the luxury of a tripod and a static subject, you might as well. Having said that, I've taken pictures hanging out of aeroplanes with the instant flick up, and I haven't seen any camera shake. I've got it on? Yep. There we go. Just got to press, I'm not used to it. And this is what you get when the light changes while you're busy talking. I'd say it's about 1.5 stops over. But it's one of the wonders of negative film that it can be recovered. This is from Sideshow Alley at a local show, and straight out of the camera it's not bad. Very little correction necessary. When working in shade or artificial light, the film seems to perform almost normally. And here we have a restored 1946 Ford, proudly displayed by its unrestored owner. One of the things that Portra NC was good at was accurately rendering wood tones. I remember Kodak Gold rendering with a somewhat reddish hue. Anyway, this time I'm not going to bother locking the mirror up. I'll just take the photo. And here we go. Underexposed, because I changed the lighting and forgot to take another reading. There's not a lot you can do with underexposure. This is better, but still underexposed. But the wood colour is accurate. When you're shooting on a wide aperture, focusing is critical. I find it best to use a card of printed material. Just hold that. I have it wound on. Okay. This waist level viewfinder has a flick up magnifying glass to assist focus, but it takes a bit of getting used to. Okay, righto. I'm taking this portrait on the occasion of the last hay elevator being built in Rathdowney. Lloyd Taylor began making these elevators in 1967. And when he retired, his son-in-law John Robinson continued the production. Nearly 3,000 were sold throughout Australia, but the advent of the large round bales finally rendered the concept obsolete. And here we go, you ready? Once again, indoors and daylight temperature lighting, the colours are fairly good. Even better when corrected. Oh, and yeah, it's in focus. To shoot the last 2 frames, I'm at a small country town market, looking for plenty of colour. Generally, with a bit of tweaking, this expired roll of film, kept in the fridge, has done the job adequately. I've often wondered how the camera knows to let me wind the film off after 10 shots. And there we have it, finished. And being a Kodak film, I think I've got to lick it. There we go, exposed.